We are live here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame podcast presented by Heineken. And when we play games at Audi Field under Hernan Losada, we win games.
Yes.
It's definitely, it's great to be back at Audi Field. It's great to have 3 points in the bag again. And it was an interesting performance tonight. But when you saw the lineups come out at the beginning of the game, I got a little bit of a knot in my stomach. I don't know about you guys.
Listen, that was a winning lineup, so.
Sure was.
Yeah, I don't think my mic is on right now.
I don't think Joshua's mic is on either, which is, interesting development. Sam, it might just be you and I on the show tonight.
I mean, Joshua just yelling in the background.
Despite our best efforts in pre-show.
Yeah, I think I got the dead cord
Oh.
today.
Womp
Do you want to
womp.
pull a new one out of the...
We will echo Joshua's comments into the mic.
Or maybe just put him on another channel?
Let's try that one more time.
Can you guys hear me?
No.
No, we certainly cannot.
Oh. This is what going live is, folks.
Anyways, while Joshua grabs another mic, Sam, the lineup came out, and I think the thing that stuck out the most to me was Kempin in for Sights, which
that
was
shocking. Yeah, and a performance he had tonight. You could tell he was a little bit on edge. There were a lot of balls that he perhaps should have caught, but he instead pushed them out. And I think that's a young keeper move. I'm pretty sure he's like relatively young, especially for a keeper, right? I could be making that up.
Yeah, he is. And I think there was one particular moment, it was in the second half because he was down at our end, and I turned to our friend who was standing next to me and I said, if he was a wide receiver, that would have hit him right between the numbers. And somehow the ball ended up like 10 yards away.
Well, the same thing happened in the first, and Briant had to like clear it from within the 6 yard, and that was nerve-wracking, but he did what he needed to do. He got it done today.
Hey, you got a clean sheet, the first clean sheet of the year for DC. I'm back. Zach Thornton might be a wizard. That's what I think. We've seen this time and time again while he's been here. DC United backup goalkeepers come in and are just miraculous, and that's why I'm calling him a wizard. Kempin was a little sloppy sometimes, but he got the job done. 0 on the board for Chicago, and clean sheet.
Can we talk about the rest of the team too? Like I think for the first 2/3 of the game, we played so well. That was the Losada system that we've been like praying and dreaming for. Yeah,
and it was the Losada system with a lot of players that probably won't be in the Losada system long term, right? Which says so much about kind of where this team is headed when all things are clicking. And I'm so happy for Edson Flores to get his first goal as a DC United player, which Joshua, you said at one point in the game, and I was like, there's no way. And you're right, it was his first goal in the black and red. And he needed it. And I'll tell you, after he scored it, it looked like a weight was lifted off his shoulders out there. He was comfortable in everything he did. And that's the Eddie we need.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen him feeling himself more for DC United than he did tonight. Like, he was just bringing the moves out. He was taking players on. Like, he really felt comfortable. And that's something you all, like I know Joshua has said before, perhaps it's his positioning. Like maybe we're just not playing him where he's comfortable. And, maybe it's a combination of things, but that was definitely a factor, I think, in what played into him playing so well tonight. Yeah,
and it was weird. I think I saw that Hernan talked about there was no true number 9 for DC United tonight. We've all talked at length about that problem in our roster.
You don't need a number 9.
But apparently you don't need. You can just put Flores and a breathtaking performance by an actually young. I looked it up. Kempin's 28, so young by comparison to some of our center backs. But he is actually young is Perez, who was magnificent tonight.
Adrian, right? Yeah.
The hustle that embody is part of the Losada system. He showed it the most, I think.
Adrian might be better than Jose Perez from a Leicester fan. But I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge that, because we're still in, and it's crazy to me, the CDC actually changing guidelines today, we're getting a lot closer to full capacity, which is exciting. And hopefully that means we're a lot closer to us being back at Audi Field after these games. But because we're not, we did not carry the post-game press conference live tonight. We'll add it in at the end of the show. But shouts to our friends who are covering the press conference tonight, Black and Red United, the RFK Refugees podcast, Emily Olsen, and plenty of others that are covering it. But I'm scrolling through Twitter right now. We talked a little bit about John Kempin, and quote that is absolutely going to make headlines tonight. John, talking to the media, said, Hernan is the kind of coach you want to die for.
Oh, wow.
And he praised the entire back line. And that's, that says a lot, because I know, Joshua, you and I have been critical of Losada over the last couple of weeks in some of the decision making that's gone into the short term. I think we've tried to make it clear, despite our best efforts, maybe we haven't, that we're bought in on the long term vision. But you love to hear players, especially young players, totally sold on it, and of course performances like tonight can't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, tonight's performance to me says that we're always moving in the right direction, and the fact that players consistently have been saying how much they really value the coaching that they're getting from Losada, that they're going to die for him. In the pre-game press conference, Moses Nyman said the same thing. He said he has a great relationship with Losada, and he can go talk to him, and he feels himself developing every single day. He's learning the game, he's learning the tactics. I think those things are really great. And again, we saw for the first 60 minutes tonight, we really saw that. We saw that the players had the freedom to be creative within the system. They knew the runs they were supposed to be making. They knew where they could pass the ball because those runs were being made. It was just so beautiful to see. And granted, Chicago is not the best team in the league, but we definitely made them look worse. Like, that was not just a function of Chicago not being a good team. We made them look clueless.
Yeah, it felt to me at times like we dominated the game. And granted, it was a 1-0 scoreline, and at the end, it was a little bit of a nail-biter. But,
man.
Yeah, we were in control of this game for, like you said, Sam, at least the first 60 minutes. And there's so many guys I want to talk about on this lineup. Josh, you look like you were about to say something before I shift us off course.
No, mine's kind of in line that we got to give shouts to Skundrick, who was a
exactly where I was going.
USL player yesterday.
Yes. He had to travel here all the way from Loudon.
Yes. And then came on and gave a performance like that. Can you believe it? No, he was fantastic, and he was running. He was the first one back on corners. I noticed that. Yep. And then he was also getting up and pressing once Flores and Perez started having a little bit heavier legs. He was very impressive, and it's sometimes you could see like, oh yeah, this guy's a little bit USL quality. If you've seen a few of those games, you probably know what I'm talking about. But he showed well and fit into the team immediately, and that is an immense value. As someone who's been very critical of the project down in Loudon, you have to give props when they're due, and they definitely deserve props because they had a player on standby ready to go, and he fit literally right into the roster and played well.
He definitely looked the part tonight.
Yeah, and he was even I echo everything you all said. I hate that I just said echo, but also he was talking, right? He was directing the midfield, and he was telling other players where to be, and he was also, listening to those directions. So I completely agree. It looked like he'd been training, and I think he has been training with the team, right?
Yeah,
I think he was just signed. Yeah, so
he did most of preseason with the team.
Yeah, so you could see that this was a great signing for DC United. That's probably why, because he was fitting into the system so well.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, having those guys so that the coach can make an informed decision. There's no chance you sign a player who didn't play for your USL team and throw him into the lineup like this. That would take weeks of time to integrate, but he was ready to go, and he showed well.
Yeah, and as we look through the rest of the starting lineup, I thought Briant had a good bounce-back game tonight. I mean, couldn't possibly have a more unlucky / poor game in Columbus over the weekend, but he put in a strong shift tonight, anchored the back line, and I thought the back line did play pretty well. I was glad to hear Kempin say that in the press conference, but this is as close to a second choice back line, I think, as we're going to see until we get Steve back, at least.
Yeah, and Fred Briant was a leader on the field. He was directing everybody, and during the our goal kicks, he was yelling at people, telling them where to go, telling them to make runs. He was yelling at the ref when we wanted to make subs. He was really stepping into his own. And he also, as we mentioned, kind of had Kempin's back when there were a couple of those little shaky moments. Briant said, I'm not making this mistake again. And he blasted those balls out and probably saved us from Chicago getting a couple.
Well, yeah, Chicago definitely tried to target. That seemed to be their game plan, especially late, was to just chip it in. They brought on a number 9 that was
enormous.
He could, like John said, he could play linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he was towering over Briant, who's one of I think he was the biggest center back on the field tonight. But yeah, the back line is still strong, and like you said, John, it's only going to get better because Pines and Steve should be shaping up and getting ready to fill in.
All right, I want to move up into the midfield because we got a good question. But before I ask it, I want to ask you all, how do you think Moses did, and why is it that he did phenomenal? Just give me examples of why he played great.
He's phenomenal because he's 17 years old, and he's getting his first starts for DC United. I think today was his first home start. I saw him running to the corner looking for family. It was really cute. But
he was jacked at the end of the game too.
He
and Kevin and their arms around each other. It was cute.
Oh yeah, he was so jacked. He plays balls forward like with no fear. Like out of such a young player, he's fearless with the attempts to get the ball vertical, and it works perfectly in Losada's system. I think
it does. I think he's a great fit.
He's got a little bit of work to do defensively. He could learn from Felipe, well, not in the dark arts section, but tackling and getting in there and being a little bit more feisty and
I think he needs to bulk a little bit too, right? There were times when he got pushed off the ball, but there were times when he pushed back and it led to our goal. Andy Nahar played a pretty poor ball into him. The defender got it, and Moses muscled him off to be able to play that ball down to, I think it was Perez who crossed it into Flores.
I think Moses has a lot of confidence for a young kid, which is great. I need him to maybe get just a little more in shooting, and I know there was a moment where,
oh man,
bro, you could have put next to nothing on it and might have found the back end, and then he laid it off. And you have to love the unselfishness, right? But sometimes you gotta shoot, man.
Yeah. There's a balance in young players between those who are super cocky and they're taking everything, and then those who really want to play for the team and they think that's their fit and that's what they're trying to do. And we just got to meet in the middle.
Hey, man, I haven't seen the line judge call, but he did have one in the back of the net brought back on an offside. I think Flores does a little nifty trick. Perez.
Wasn't that to
Perez? I thought that was Perez.
I think Perez scored that.
My notes say Perez passed to Moses and it's in, but I don't know.
Was that the notes I took?
Yeah.
Oh, then I'm right.
You're doubting yourself?
Well, look, I heard my notes, and I'm like, I know you didn't type this, so I'm staying out of this one.
Was it earlier in the game?
Sorry, Sam wrote that. Yes, in the 45th plus minute, an offside call. We all thought it was in. The supporter section was celebrating for quite some time.
Oh, that was supposed to be in. Did we have one called off in the first half?
We did. Oh, man. Let's just
I don't
move
think
on.
we did. I think that was the one where it was wide open, and I wanted it to be in.
I will gladly not take credit for these notes now.
Yeah, right.
I wrote run from the notes. Me, so take your own notes.
I will say, good point from that, though. We have pyro back at Audi Field.
My goodness.
There were fireworks, scared the hell out of me during the national anthem because we haven't had them in about 2.5 years. And we also have them after goals, even if they don't go in, which we're a little trigger happy on that. But I'm excited to see that that's coming back.
So the question, when Knaus is back and healthy, has Nyman done enough to start over Moreno?
Did James Lambert ask this question? Because he asked me this in the stadium. And I don't know if I have an answer for him. That's the question for Losada. He's made a big call tonight. I don't know if he pulled sights, but he put Kempen in. It seems like he made the right decision there. It's going to be a decision for him in the midfield, and those are good things to have. If you're you have to pick one right now. I guess I'm going with Knaus and Nyman because I've seen the most from them. I'm not saying Moreno had a bad game at all. I thought he was pretty good. But
I think Moreno had a phenomenal game today.
I'll take it too. I think, oh man, I think he does. I think Nyman starts alongside Knaus, but I think Moreno is one of the first off the bench, and we saw in the first game of the season this year, Knaus ran himself into the ground. And when you look at some of the fixture congestion that we're going to have later this year, like you said, it's good to have depth, but it also could be that all three of them are 1A, B, and C, and one of them can't start, so they're coming in the 60th, 70th minute for one of them, and you're rotating through game over game.
Yeah.
Because I also thought Moreno played well tonight. So
that was going to be my comment too. I think we're going to see a lot of rotation, so I could see it just being a matter of you're getting this game, so other person can get the next game next weekend. I also think it will depend upon our opponent. Against Chicago, they're not as good, and I think the field was more wide open for us, and that really lent itself to Moses being able to put his flair on and really bust out those moves and have a good showing. I think against maybe a harder opponent where we expect them to be pressing us down the middle a little bit more, that's when you want your more veteran guys, and maybe Moses comes in at the beginning, or maybe he only plays a half and then comes out just to get that experience. But when it comes down to the tighter moments, I could see relying on the veterans a little bit more.
Yeah, I also think it's remnants of a different era of coaching, right? We used to play a 4-4-2 with 2 D mids with Ben Olsen a lot. We kind of shifted to a 4-2-3-1 where Lucho was a 10 in front of basically 2 D mids, and at one point I was like, we have like 4 on the roster, we need to stop, but we still have 2 very good ones, and Canales and Moreno, and that's not a bad thing to have. And like you said, Sam,
also Felipe.
Yeah.
And Felipe, and he can play almost any position in the midfield.
Apparently defense too.
He could jump, subbed it in. He was a D mid in front of the 2 other midfielders today. We kind of shifted into a 3-man midfield for a little bit. So it's options, and that's a great thing to have a coach. And you start naming those lists. Those are really good players, and you need depth.
I think at the end of the day, Moses is not getting minutes just because he's young and we have a lot of injuries. I think even when those injured players come back, he will continue to get minutes in a significant way. And Losada said during the last post-game press conference that Moses Nyman's the best player on the team. And he reiterated it during the pregame press conference for this game. He listed a number of players and Moses was in there, and he said he's been developing really well and he's doing exactly what we want him to do.
Yeah, our friends on Filibuster talked about it a little bit this week, and they said in previous seasons you're saying Moses Nyman is a great player for being 17, and now you're saying Moses Nyman is a great player on DC United.
I completely agree. Yep.
and I think that's maturation right there. The other player I want to talk about in the midfield is Andy Nahar, who put in another good performance tonight. Spent considerably more time on the ground than I would have liked to have seen, but I suppose I've got to get used to that. But I thought he played a couple of good balls. Still a guy who I gotta believe is certainly not at 100% of where he could be coming off of all the injuries. I don't know where he's at in terms of how fit Losada sees him, but I've been impressed. I was not expecting to see this amount of minutes for Nahar this early in the season.
Did he play all 90, right, or did he get subbed out?
I thought he got subbed out, but I'll speak to Nahar. I was like the minority. I might be the only one that was a little bit hesitant on the signing because we do have Mora and Paredes, but it just how happens that both those players are injured, so we need Nahar out on the left wing. He's done a good job. He might be the best dribbler or second best dribbler on the field. Flores kind of gets caught sometimes. Nahar has been blowing by guys, and you love to see it. And he's been good defensively. And that position requires a lot of running. He's done well. I hope that he holds up. If so, this is just, again, we have depth. When we have Mora and Nahar as options at left wing, we can do things. You're not worried about a 3-game week because you got the depth to do it.
I will say Andy Nahar was another one of the players that Coach Losada mentioned is really stepping up for the team. I think specifically he said we've got a lot of guys that other teams have given up on, and they're coming here and they're really proving themselves, and Andy was one of them. And I saw that today. You're right. He was blowing by people. He had some really great defensive plays. I think when his form dipped a little bit was when the entire team's form dipped a little bit, but he, I think, showed really, really well tonight.
Nahar did play the full 90.
Yeah.
Nice. But it's almost the perfect storm to happen. Come back where you're comfortable, you're near your family, where you started your career. The fans got your back with a brand new coach who seems to be willing to trust literally whoever shows out in practice and put them in. So yeah, we could see a revitalization. I know that's what everyone wants to see. Like I said, we got the Andy Nahar jersey in the closet. It's come out a few times. I'd love to make that more of a picture.
Yeah, I just want everyone, I think, just for the first 60 minutes played so well. I just want to talk about everyone. Moreno, I thought, had a phenomenal game. He did so well. I thought Tony Alfaro did a lot better this game than he's done in the previous games.
Yeah, he's another one of those players that's literally was on a USL roster last year. So I don't know. I think
indoor, right?
No. He played. So he played indoor
before that, yeah.
Indoor, yeah. And then he got picked up by LAFC, kind of probably on one of those weird trials, like we picked up Estonia and Messi, and then he kind of got a few showings, but not really. And now he's with us, and I think he was one of the better players on the field today.
He's potentially my favorite player right now. It's just so fun to watch him. And we're live here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame Podcast presented by Heineken. Our show phone has about 6% of battery left, but I think I can back it up on my phone. So what the heck? Join the show. You can call us at 540-986-4833. That's a new number for this season, 540-9-UNITED, if you want to have your voice heard here on Tried and True. Who are you excited about? And what should we be looking forward to as we transition to the Orlando game coming up in just a couple of days? I don't want to leave this game too quickly, but the mindset when you've got these midweek games, there's not a whole lot of time to sit back and enjoy the win. Tomorrow, players are going to be watching game tape in the morning and probably, doing jog throughs at least in the afternoon as they transition to another game.
Yeah, it does make me nervous. I've mentioned several times that we played really good in the first 60 minutes, and then we really saw a dip in form. And I think it was a fitness thing in that. Are we getting a call? No.
It does appear that we have a missed call.
Okay. Well, that's on John. So I know it's on me. Phone's on
man.
John. I think it was a fitness thing. You could see that we weren't stepping as quickly to the balls, and Chicago were able to get a couple more touches before we were closing them down, and you could just see that we were starting to get tired. And honestly, I was surprised that we didn't see the first sub until really around the 70th-ish minute, maybe the 75th minute is when Paul came in. And I gotta wonder if that's because we have this weekend game coming up in just a couple days, and Losada's trying to manage those minutes, and he's saying, Paul, who else came in? Yamil, maybe they're going to get more minutes during the weekend game, and we're going to rest some guys. Like, I really wish we had some more days. We just need a little bit more rest, and I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, but that's what Hernan said in the press conference before this. Like, I'm only focused on Thursday. After we play that game, then I'll start thinking about Sunday. Yeah. And look, I love it. You can either go hard like that, or you can be measured and be like, oh, we'll do our best to manage. And he went hard, and it paid off because he got the win, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If you win one of those games, especially quick back-to-back, then you played it right. If you win half your games, I guess you're good to go.
So I guess one of my questions for you guys, how many minutes do we think Ola Kamara has in the tank? Because we saw 15 in Columbus, and we saw about 4 tonight, which is great to see him back out on the field. Obviously, he's practicing, he's putting in minutes. Paul Earl got a little bit of a time today, but are we getting close to seeing a start for Kamara? What's it going to take?
Does it have to do with fitness, or does it have to do with form? Because Flores and Perez did really, really well tonight. And if that's what they're showing in practice every single day, I'm not surprised that Kamara is not getting some more minutes.
Hernan said he wanted to start a striker for this game, but he just didn't have one that was up to fitness. And, whether that's I trust him, but whether it's fitness and something, we'll see there. I don't know. I struggle with that because, it worked tonight. You didn't need one.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know that I'm advocating for a change at the weekend, but you can't get in form without minutes, right? It's like a vicious cycle. Like you've got to have playing time in order to get in form, but you can show out in practice, right? And if he's not, then that could explain a lot.
You also don't want to disrupt the form of the guys who are doing really well, right? Also, Orlando's a very different team, and I feel like I'm lying when I say that they're semi-decent. That just feels like sacrilegious to say almost. My brain can't wrap my mind around it, but Orlando's a very different team, so perhaps, as much as he's saying our focus is on Thursday, I absolutely believe him, but he's also a professional, and he's looking several games down the line, and he's got ideas for how he wants to approach our next several opponents based upon the games that he's already seen from them. So perhaps we will see a little bit of a different lineup and a little bit just how the team kind of shifts around. What? I thought you were going to say something, so I paused.
Listen, yeah.
So no change for you, Sam, at the weekend? Are you rolling out the same 11, or what are we...
I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know how the guys on the bench are doing and feeling. I would love to roll out the same 11 if we didn't play again until next weekend. But given the little bit of a dip that we saw tonight, you got to assume that's going to happen sooner if you were to just play everyone on Sunday, because they just are coming off a game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some changes.
Yeah, I can't imagine Perez has anything left in the tank after the hustle that he gave tonight. He was always the one darting forward, and Flores did the same to a little bit lesser extent, but they were sprinting up there, and you could tell when they got tired, because it seemed like our whole line kind of dropped, but they were still trying to hit him on transition. It was good. I could see Shamil coming down for Perez. Whether that is good for the team or not, that it might be a necessary thing at this point.
Yeah, and it does seem like we're having some technical difficulties on the call-in line tonight, so I apologize for that. We'll try to get that sorted out for future shows. But if you want to join the show, you can always do so using the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat. You can tweet at us, you can reply, you can throw things at us, whatever's easiest.
Knock
for
on
you,
the
really.
door, like if you no, please don't.
And our addresses.
Well, something cool that we're excited about, support for Tried and True, is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. That's the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, our listeners, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TRIEDANDTRUE at manscaped.com. Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code TRIEDANDTRUE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping worldwide at manscaped.com using the code TRIEDANDTRUE. That is all one word, tried, A-N-D, true. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And thank you to Manscaped for helping bring today's episode of Tried and True.
John, how was your Manscaped experience?
It's been pretty awesome so far. I'll tell you, it's not something I knew that I needed, but I'm glad that I have. And they also sell cool T-shirts and soft boxers, which is a nice side touch as well.
Yeah, I'll have to experience it, but it sounds super legit. I watched the video for the 4.0 and I was like in space, and then it was a submarine. It definitely hooks you in.
Yeah, we're excited to have them on as partners, and we're looking forward to viewers and listeners joining the crew as well, using our promo code Tried and True.
Learned a lot about male grooming and male hygiene.
You and me both, Sam.
Yeah. But the boxers are super soft. I'm excited to sleep in those, and I'm excited. I got one too, so I'm excited to use it. And I know that we have at least 2 lady listeners. I know there are some more of you out there. But yeah, I'm excited to give it a try tomorrow, and then we'll chat about it on Sunday. But yeah, thanks so much to Manscaped. We're super excited to be partnering with them. And like John said, you can get 20% off using code Tried and True.
Yeah, and before we move entirely into the Orlando game, and before we forget about it entirely like we have in the past, we need to award a man in the match tonight. I did not see, as is tradition, who the team awarded to.
Flores.
Was that his Flores?
Yeah, they announced it.
And I'm also learning that's right. And I believe that's fan voted entirely now, according to Twitter. Is that
how do you vote?
On Twitter.
There's a poll. Yeah.
Oh. I mean...
Sam did not vote tonight, apparently.
I did.
I was too busy taking notes.
Yeah. I did, and
who did you vote for?
I was not. I didn't go with the people. I guess I thought everyone saw what I. No. It's not always the goal scorer, right? And I think Perez was hustling and did everything. He even provided assists. He probably should have had the goal, except for that goal line clearance with the head by the Chicago defender.
Yeah.
For me, after this man literally just played at left wing back in Columbus in one of his first few starts for DC United, and then comes in tonight and dominated. There literally was not a defender on Chicago that could stop him. He would always, it wasn't beautiful per se, but he would knock the ball past them and get on it and try to create a chance. He was my favorite player to watch tonight, hands down.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joshua. I would pick Perez as well. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch on this team. I think he's another one with a lot of confidence, and I don't know sort of where it comes from, if that's, what it's like growing up playing in the indoor league where you've got to be so good on the ball. I don't know exactly what that is, but he makes moves and creates space and just keeps possession so well, and he's going to be fun to watch. I don't know how he fits in this side when everybody's back to full health, but if he keeps putting in shifts like that, and he's going to find a way in. Sam?
I had 3, and I was super sure that one of you would take at least one of them, and that would narrow down my choices.
Wait, Perez wasn't in one of your 3?
No, and now that I think about it, maybe 4, because Flores wasn't in that either, but I thought he played really well tonight.
Sam is still very down on Perez.
No, I think he played super well today. That's not a bad shout. He did a lot kind of down that left-hand side, and I just didn't think it was like maybe man of the match caliber.
So let's count it down. We've got
either.
Perez at 5 or below. Flores is 4, and we've got
probably
3 remaining.
Andy at 3.
Okay.
I
think I know
really
it is.
well.
Yeah.
And then between Moreno and Nyman
really?
for top, and I was so sure that one of you was going to pick one of them, and I just don't know how to decide. Who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to pick Kempin because he came in and got a clean sheet.
I thought you were going to pick Kevin Paredes.
Yeah, that was always an option if you watched last season.
Wow, you guys are rude.
Well, this is tough, Sam, because we've never picked a man of the match on the show before, so we understand how we caught you off guard with the question.
I really didn't think I'd have to make the decision. I was like, whoever you guys don't say is who I'm going to say. I'm going to go ahead and go with Moses. I just think he, with like a 0.01 below him being Moreno. Moreno played really well. I think he was dominating the midfield. He was doing a lot of really great defensive work. But, Moses, I just think he's just, I don't know, on this hype train, I guess, and I'm riding it.
He's playing great. He's playing great, and I think the sky's the limit for the kid.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, he's got the confidence, he's doing the moves, he's being given the freedom, which is great. And if he just adjusts these little things, I think he's still learning the game a little bit and how to play. It was there was one play where he was making a run, and then Edison Flores with the ball kind of made the same run, and you could tell that Moses was like, this was the run that coach told me to make. I don't really know where to go from here. So he just kind of stopped and took himself out of the play a little bit. And then there was another one. It was a corner for DC United, and he was like really hype, and he like got the ball and ran it all the way over to the corner and then put it down. And then he kind of remembered it wasn't high school, and you can't just like decide that you're going to take a corner kick. So he kind of walked away, and I think Russell probably took it. But yeah, I'm just super excited for Moses.
Joshua, what do the mathematicians say?
Mathematicians don't really have it with any. Look, I don't know if this is like the pregame. I'll have to check back with you later, but
okay.
I think it's got to be. Wow. I thought Perez was fantastic. I think all the players that you mentioned, Sam, also had a good game.
The whole team, man. We just played so well today. We played within the system. Everyone really was shining, and this is a great team, and I would love to hear from the two of you what you think after a win, because now we're up. We entered this game in 12th. Now we're up to tied for 4th.
So my first thought is I probably won't look at the standings until July, because there's and that's kind of true in any league, right?
Because
I mean, there's just
really
so
judge
much.
Based off 4 games.
Well, no, I mean, there's just
season.
Everybody's close, right? And so there's what position we're in today versus last week or even a month from now it's still kind of shaking out. I think tonight we saw the promise and the good and some of the highlights of what DC United will be under Hernan Losada. I don't think there's any doubt. I think playing at home probably helped this team. I think playing a bad Chicago Fire team definitely helped this team. But yeah, games like this is exactly what I think the fan base, but also the players need, which is that reassurance that, yes, we are going in the right direction. All of the things that are different, that a lot of these players are still probably getting used to under the new system are going to come together. And I think they were successful in the new system for a big part of tonight's game. And so, yeah, there's going to continue to be growing pains. I don't believe we're over a hump per se. I think this is going to hurt more often than not for the next couple of weeks as we get things back together. I still think there were some blemishes. I didn't think Gressel had another good game in particular, but I also thought, Paul Arriola came on and he didn't look sharp either.
Yeah.
Granted, it was at the end of the game. We were kind of trying to kill it off. I do think Losada was a little bit more comfortable at the end of the game, or perhaps the players just opted to do it, but it did feel like we shifted into a little bit more of a defensive style there at the end, which, I'd be interested to see if that was, the coach's intent there, or if that was the players' kind of instincts, which obviously didn't make it easy for Paul to have an impact when he came on. But he looked at a lot of sorts. He knew where to be, and then his touches were off. So it's tough for me to be like, oh, well, Gressel was terrible and Paul should start, because I didn't necessarily think the player I'd bring in for Gressel was that much better either.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot.
Just a couple things off what you said. We did shift into a more defensive, and I think that was because our gas tanks were all empty, and it was kind of preservation of the game. I think it was intentional from Losada, but believe that is going to be the game plan moving forward. Once all of the players can do the system for 90 minutes, we're going to see the same high press for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and a second goal certainly would have ended the game too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, we're not far away from it.
Right.
A couple other things that you mentioned that I just wanted to note, and, you know, coming into the pod, I was a little bit hesitant because we get a lot of, you know, for not being as favorable for Gressel and maybe giving him a harder time sometimes just to, you know, ingest to Joshua. But I didn't think that he had a phenomenal game today. I think it was pretty average. He definitely had some great moments, but you could see that he was also frustrated with his play. He was visibly, you know, slapping his thigh and getting really frustrated, and he didn't think that he had the best of plays either today.
Man. Okay.
Go ahead. What?
Who scored has him as one of the better players on the field, and I'd have to look. He smacks that one off to the top corner of the bar, and maybe we're talking about.
Well, I don't think one goal changes the way he played over 90 minutes.
It definitely worked for Flores, but
he's middle of the pack in those ratings for DC
think
United.
he was fine. Yeah, well, that's because you know, the defense played really well.
Yeah.
So do you disagree? Do you think Flores had a better game than we're giving him credit for?
Gressel.
I'm sorry.
I don't think he had a bad game, right? It's a clean sheet for a side. I think he was frustrated to come off. And yeah, I think, John, you got a point there. Like, Paul didn't look great, and that might be just Paul's new to the system. He doesn't know everything. Or it could have just been like, that's where Chicago was trying to go at.
But I think Gressel definitely starts again on Sunday, which is why I'm glad to see he did come off for a little bit, because he played the full shift in Columbus too, right?
And that's the other. Did he? I feel like he might have come out. I don't know. The other thing that you said, though, that I wanted to comment on is, you're right, Paul did look a couple touches off, and perhaps that is because he's just getting into the system. He's just learning it. He's learning this high press system, and then he comes in and we shift to more defensive. So he was a little bit off, but it was really great to see him come back, and the fans were super ecstatic, and I don't think he's going to have issue adjusting to this system. He's probably one of the better players that's suited for it.
Look, the pitches are just nicer over here in MLS compared to the championship.
Except for Stoke.
Remember when that was a big deal? Gosh. But we're glad to have Paul back. Yeah, I agree. I would like to say this one was pretty close, actually. Chicago bounced it off the post a few times. They did have that one shot that was directly at Kimpin, and he did a good job pushing it to the side. Would love to see that caught later.
Yes. Sounds like Bill might be back at the weekend, though.
And look, we can just have a rotation. 3 goalkeepers in 3 games. I'm here for it.
Open tryouts.
But yeah, look.
Was it even? Is that what are you looking at stats and that's what it's saying? I would argue that DC United dominated, and I would expect our expected goals to have been a lot higher than Chicago's. United should have had more goals than Chicago did.
Oh, for sure. That's not what I was trying to say.
Oh, I'm sorry then. What were you saying?
I was just saying that the Chicago, while outplayed in the first half, could have snuck back into this game very easily.
Yes.
I had that sinking feeling a little bit at the end of the game of like, oh man, they could steal a goal here, and that would really hurt, because we've earned 3 points throughout this game. And
yep, it would have been akin to that feeling in Columbus. So if we really deserve a tie, but we're getting a loss, like we really deserve a win, but we're getting a tie. And I think last season we didn't see these games out. I think back to our very first show against Colorado, when we were expecting to talk about a win, and Colorado scored very late in the game, and we had to talk about a tie. You know,
why you gotta bring that up, Sam?
Because Benny Ball does not see these games out, especially when players are tired and you have to shift to more defensively and the momentum shifts to the other team. Benny Ball did not see it out enough for us last season, or even prior seasons to that. And that's the change that Losada is bringing to this team, is seeing those games out in the early days, right? We're just building from here.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree entirely with that. I think the way in which we're going to see games out moving forward is going to be very different, because we're going to see games out by just scoring more. And I think, I don't know, I remember a lot of really good defensive efforts under Benny Ball.
That's all we had.
Well, right. And I mean, yeah, I think it's more exciting to watch this, no doubt. And I think we're also going to be better for it in the long run.
Yeah, it was beautiful in the first half. All our defensive efforts were within their defensive half. We were really pressing high.
Yeah.
At one point, I was talking to Lori next to me, and she said, "So what are we playing? Is it 3 in the back? Is it 5?" And I laughed because she asked me, and I said, it's 3. We kind of shift back. It looks like 5 sometimes. Sometimes we kind of rotate a little bit, so it looks like 4. And then I looked at the field and I said, although it looks like we have 2 in the back right now. I think it was a corner, like a corner, or it was like a throw in off a corner, and all the players were still high up. And I said, we have Pines Ike and Brianna, I think, in the back right now, and we're just hoping and praying. So I do enjoy the more offensive play.
Yeah.
And we can expect to see that a lot more.
I love it.
Well, DC United play Orlando this weekend. That's a Sunday night game because they did not take my input when they built the schedule, and so we play a lot of Sunday night games now. But that's at 8 or probably 8:08 will be the actual kickoff time on your local NBC Sports Washington, Telexitos, and DCUnited.com/stream if you're in the area, ESPN Plus if you're not. Our friends at Loudoun United kick off their season on Tuesday night. Against the Red Bulls 2. That's their home opener. So that's not kicking off their season, but at least their home opener out at Segra. We got to get out there for a game at some point this season, guys. I'm excited. I want to see the Loudoun Sunsets.
Apparently, they're Loudoun players one day, DC United players the next.
Yeah.
So, what a sell.
We got this.
Could you imagine if somebody gets minutes in back-to-back nights?
On Mustafa.
Yes. Sign me up. I'll get the jersey. Oh, man. The Spirit played today.
Oh, shoot. Yeah,
Is that true?
I meant to look up that score. They did.
We
Sundrick's wife, Andy Sullivan, also played. He's got the tie in all the games. I just wanted to point
That's
out.
right.
Loudoun
All the
player
teams.
yesterday, his wife's playing in the other games. They played today at 6.
This is a major drum roll.
And they did not. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was looking at. They play on Sunday.
Perfect.
Never mind. Listen to this show on Sunday, and the Spirit will have played today.
Why did I think?
Beauty
they
of
played
podcasting.
today? Oh, maybe I was looking at Sunday. They play on Sunday. I might have been looking at that day in my calendar.
We'll move that to Sunday's notes. Before we wrap, we got to shout out our friends at Across the Pond. We appreciate their support over the past several months here as we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Can I say that with COVID? As mask restrictions are starting to change, which is crazy, and large crowds are starting to come back together. So definitely check out Across the Pond. There's a lot of good soccer games this weekend. There's a really, really, really important game on Saturday. I've heard it's like the most important cup in the world, and I've heard that there's a really great team
John's
playing in it. Also Chelsea.
I think he's number 2. Just hit the mute button.
The FA Cup final, but of course there's games all the time, and they'll put on whatever you want. They got good food. They sell beer. Why not?
So good.
Guys,
Love it.
what did we miss?
Miss everyone in the stands. It was so much fun tonight. It's so fun to watch DC win at home twice in a row. Crazy.
Yeah, one thing I will say about being in the stands, I got to shout out La Banda del Distrito. I think the drum line is peak right now. Like I think this is probably the best I've seen it with DC United. It's a lot of fun. Their chants and songs are changing more rapidly than they used to.
Yeah.
They're doing songs across all of the groups. I think it's going to be a lot of fun when we get the section filled out again. To me, that's been awesome, and I've personally liked the fact that the drums are kind of centrally located now, as opposed to like the first couple rows. So I think that it helps make it a lot more of a centralized experience, which has been fun.
Yeah, they came back swinging. They've done a really great job.
Well, hell, they were playing through most of the season just outside the gates last year. I remember that, which they didn't have to watch the team, so maybe.
So yeah, I'm excited for these next 2 home games as well. We are undefeated at home, first clean sheet.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun. And then we get a little bit of a break. So I think there might be one more. Are we traveling at some point?
Away to Miami.
Away to Miami, and then we go into the Gold Cup
and then
break.
we go into a little bit of a break.
Yep. Joshua, this is when you tell our listeners to smash the like button.
No,
this is where you tell them to go to manscaped.com. Use code Tried and True as our sponsors, get 20% off.
Yes, and most importantly, tell a friend. If you haven't already, I actually got to tell someone randomly in the stands tonight to listen to the show, which was great. And we hope that you tune in, subscribe, like, follow, tell a friend, and talk to us when we get the phone working again. But thanks for hanging out with us tonight on your Thursday night. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Sunday right here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame Podcast presented by Heineken.